pyramid and the all-seeing eye. An ancient occult symbol that shows up in religion, churches, Egypt, alchemy, on money, artwork, logos, crop circles, business models, architecture, food, pharma, government, and fraternal organizations. Why? This symbol has been a great catalyst for philosophical, religious, and political debate. In its most positive sense, the structure of the pyramid represents strength and durability, while the steps of the pyramid are an allegory for the journey to enlightenment. In a more negative sense, it represents hierarchy and power. A vast majority of organizations use the pyramid model as their basic structure, with one person at the top and a few directly answerable to him or to her. These few, in turn, have a limited number of people under their authority, and so on down the chain. This principle also applies to knowledge, with the top of the pyramid being privy to all information, the necessary parts of which are passed down the ranks, with each level only being provided with the information needed to carry out their allotted tasks. The Eye of Providence, or the all-seeing eye of God, is a symbol showing an eye, often surrounded by rays of light or a glory, and usually enclosed by a triangle. It can be anything from representing the benevolent, omnipotent, all-seeing eye of God to representing an evil, malevolent being or society. Imagery of an all-seeing eye can be traced back to Egyptian mythology and the Eye of Horus. It also appears in Buddhism, where Buddha is also referred to as the eye of the world throughout Buddhist scriptures, and is represented as a trinity in the shape of a triangle known as the Tri Ratna or triple gem. In medieval and Renaissance European iconography, the eye, often within a triangle, was an explicit image of the Christian Trinity. The Hamsa, or eye in the palm of a hand, is an Arabic and Jewish apotropaic amulet for magical protection from the evil eye. Today, the Eye of Providence is usually associated with Freemasonry. Here, it represents the all-seeing eye of God and is a reminder that a Mason's thoughts and deeds are always observed by God, who is referred to in Masonry as the great architect of the universe. Since this episode is about Illuminati symbolism in Hollywood movies, Illuminati being a common term applied to the elite of the secret societies, let's look at the use of the pyramid and eye on the U.S. seal and the dollar bill. According to Masonic author S. Brent Morris, the claim that says Masons inserted some of their emblems, chief among them the pyramid and the eye, into the reverse of the Great Seal of the United States is false. On Independence Day 1776, a committee was created to design a seal for the new American nation. The committee's members were Benjamin Franklin, a Mason, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams with Pierre du Cimetière. Eugene de Cimetière was a philosopher, member of the American Philosophical Society, naturalist, patriot, and portrait painter. He was born in Geneva, Switzerland. He served as the artistic consultant for the committee that designed the Great Seal of the United States, and in 1776 he submitted the first proposed design to include the Eye of Providence, which element was eventually adopted. He also suggested the adoption of the U.S. motto, Et pluribus unum, out of many, one. The single eye was a well-established, artistic convention for an all-knowing, omnipresent deity in the medallic art of the Renaissance. We are told this was the same cultural iconography that eventually led Masons to add the all-seeing eye to their symbols. Congress declined the first committee's suggestions. A second and third committee were formed when finally in 1782 the third committee produced a design that satisfied Congress. Charles Thomson, Secretary of Congress, and William Barton, artist and consultant, borrowed from earlier designs and sketched what at length became the United States seal. According to Masonic author Brent Morris, the seal as a Masonic emblem may have been first introduced a century later in 1884. Harvard professor Eliot Norton wrote that the reverse looked like a dull emblem of a Masonic fraternity. The remarks and explanations of Thomas and Barton are the only explanation of the symbol's meaning used in the seal. The pyramid signified strength and duration. The eye over it and the motto allude to the many signal interpositions of Providence in favor of the American cause. Basically, this means they believe they are the divine intervention between us and God, and that God has favored their undertakings. How is this different from what ancient pharaohs believed? Perhaps the few elite who control the most powerful country today believe they are descendants of ancient pharaohs and have returned. Perhaps this is why the pyramid and eye symbolism is showing up on the U.S. seal and the dollar bill. The major Masonic design element on the seal is the Eye of Providence. According to Brent Morris, the first official use and definition of the all-seeing eye as a Masonic symbol seems to have come in 1797 with the Freemasons' Monitor of Thomas Smith Webb, 14 years after Congress adopted the design for the seal. But the origins and early development of Freemasonry are a matter of debate. There is evidence to suggest that there were Masonic lodges in existence in Scotland as early as the late 16th century. Furthermore, who knows what other names Freemasonry had before they used the name Freemasons. Brent claims that the all-seeing eye appears to be a rather recent addition to Masonic symbolism, a popular Masonic decorative device in the latter half of the 18th century. He states, it was during this period that Masonic ritual and symbolism evolved, and it is not surprising that many symbols common to and understood by the general society made their way into Masonic ceremonies. Masons may have preferred the triangle because of the frequent use of the number 3 in their ceremonies. In 1934, Secretary of Agriculture Henry A. Wallace suggested to President Roosevelt that the U.S. seal be put on the dollar bill. In a letter from Wallace to President Roosevelt, he recollects that day by saying,
Roosevelt, as he looked at the colored reproduction of the seal, was first struck with the representation of the all-seeing eye, a Masonic representation of the great architect of the universe. Next, he was impressed with the idea that the foundation for the new order of the ages had been laid in 1776, but that it would be completed only under the eye of the great architect. Roosevelt, like myself, was a 32nd degree Mason. He suggested that the seal be put on the dollar bill rather than a coin, and took the matter up with the Secretary of the Treasury. He brought it up in a cabinet meeting and asked James Farley, Postmaster General and a Roman Catholic, if he thought the Catholics would have any objection to the all-seeing eye, which he as a Mason looked on as a Masonic symbol of deity. Farley said, "No, there will be no objection."